know anything about Harvey until we came back here. Doctor, don't you think it would have been a little bit kinder of Mother to have written and told me about Harvey? Be honest now, don't you?
Well, I really couldn't answer that because
Well, I can. Yes, it certainly would have.
Now, this person you call Harvey, well, who is he?
He's a rabbit.
Perhaps. But just who is he? Some companion whom your brother has picked up in one of these bars of whom you disapprove.
Doctor, I've been telling you, Harvey is a rabbit. A big white rabbit. 6 feet high. Or is it 6 feet and a half? Heaven knows I ought to know. He's been around the house long enough.
Mrs. Simmons, let me understand this. You say
Doctor,
that...
do I have to keep repeating myself? My brother insists that his closest friend is this big white rabbit. This rabbit is named Harvey. Harvey lives at our house. Don't you understand? Oh, he and Elwood go everywhere together. Elwood buys railroad tickets, theater tickets for both of them. As I told Myrtle May, if your uncle was so lonesome he had to bring something home, why couldn't he bring home something human? Oh, he has me, doesn't he? He has Myrtle May, doesn't he? Doctor, I'm going to tell you something I've never told anybody in the world before. Every once in a while, I see that big white rabbit myself. Now, isn't that terrible? I've never even told that to Myrtle May.
Mrs. Simmons.
And what's more, he's every bit as big as Elwood says he is. Now, don't you ever tell that to anybody, Doctor. I'm ashamed of it.
Well, I can see that you've been under a great nervous strain lately.
Oh, yes, I certainly have.
The grief over your mother's death has depressed you considerably.
Nobody knows how much.
You've been losing sleep.
How could anybody sleep with that going on?
Short-tempered over trifles.
Just try living with those two and see how your temper holds up.
You've been loss of appetite?
No one could eat at a table with my brother and a big white rabbit. I'm finished with it. I'll sell the house, be appointed conservator of Elwood's estate, and then Myrtle May and I will be able to entertain our friends in peace. Oh, it's too much, Doctor. I just can't stand it.
Well, of course it is. Well, you're tired.
Oh, yes, I am.
You've been worrying a great deal.
I have. I can't help it.
And now I'm going to help you.
No, Doctor.
Just sit there quietly. I'll be right back.
I'll just go down to the cabin, get Elwood's things.
Why did no one answer the buzzer?
I didn't hear you, Doctor.
I rang and rang. Mrs. Simmons? Sound the buzzer, Wilson. That poor woman must not leave the grounds.
She's made with a getaway, huh, Doc?
Her condition is serious. Go after her.
I can't believe it.
Henry, main gate. This is Dr. Sanderson. Allow no one out the main gate. We're looking for a patient. Oh, I should have left her alone, but no one would answer the buzzer.
Wilson was in South, Doctor.
What do we have available, Miss Kelly?
Number 13, Upper West Star is ready, Doctor.
Have him taken there immediately. I will prescribe preliminary treatment. I must contact your brother. Well, Dowd is the name. Elwood P. Dowd. Will you get him on the telephone, please, Miss Kelly?
But, Doctor, I didn't know it was the woman who needed treatment. She said it was for her brother.
Of course she did. That's the oldest dodge in the world. It's always used by a cunning type of psychopath. Why, she apparently knew her brother was coming out here to commit her, so she came out here to discredit him. Will you get him on the telephone, please?
But, Doctor, I thought the woman was all right. So I had Wilson take her brother out to number 24, South Wing G. He's there now.
You had Wilson take the brother in? No gags. Please, Miss Kelly, you're not serious, are you?
Oh, I did, Doctor, I did. Oh, I'm terribly sorry.
Oh, well, you're sorry. Then that fixes everything, then, doesn't it? Oh, no.
Oh, I'll do it, Doctor, I'll do it. Miss Dumphy? Yes, will you unlock room number 24 and give Mr. Dowd his clothes back and
ask him to step down to the office right away.
Ask him to step down to the office right away. There's been a terrible mistake. Dr. Sanderson wants to explain.
Explain? Apologize?
Thank heaven they hadn't put him in the hydro tub yet. She'll let him out.
Beautiful. And dumb, too. Well, you're almost too good to be true.
Oh, I feel terrible, Doctor. I didn't know. George Gaffney called and said Mrs. Simmons and her brother would be out here. And when she came in, Oh, you don't have to be so sarcastic.
Oh, don't I? Stop worrying. We'll squirm out of this somehow.
Where are you going?
I'll have to inform the chief about this, Kelly. He may want to handle this himself.
Oh, he'll be furious. I know he will. He'll die. And then he'll terminate me.
Listen, the responsibility is all mine, Kelly.
Oh, no, Doctor. Tell him it was my fault.
Well, I never mentioned your name, except in my sleep.
What are the staff man?
Listen, I'll be right back. Keep him here, Kelly.
But what shall I say to him? Well, what shall I do? He'll be furious.
Listen, Kelly, he'll probably the old routine. You know, the eyes, the swish, the works. I'm immune, but I've seen it work on some other people. Some of the patients out here. Keep him here, Kelly. If you have to, do a striptease.
Oh, you're wonderful, Dr. Sanderson. You're about the most wonderful person I ever met in my life.
Oh, yeah. How about give me a hand over here?
What?
With that Simmons dame.
Did you catch her?
Oh, slick as a whistle. I mean, she was walking down the path, humming this little tune, and I jumps out at her from behind a tree. Says, "Sister, there's someone here who wants to see you." Ow, you should have heard her yell. She's wacky, all right.
Take her to room number 13 under West R.
She's already up there. I brought her in through the diet kitchen. Ow, she was kicking and screaming like hell. I'll hold her down if you come and undress her.
Just a second, Wilson. Dr. Sanderson asked me to wait here until her brother comes down.
Well, make it snappy.
Mr. Dowd?
Elwood P.
Hi, Miss Kelly.
Let me give you one of my cards. If you should want to call me at that number. Don't call me at that one. That's the old one.
Oh, thank you.
Well, perfectly all right. And if you lose it, don't worry, my dear. I have plenty more.
Won't you have a chair, please, Mr. Dowd?
Thank you. I'll have two. Please allow me.
Dr. Sanderson is very anxious to speak with you. He'll be here in a minute. Just please be seated.
After you, my dear.
Oh, I really can't. I'm in and out all the time. But you mustn't mind me. Please sit down.
After you.
Could I get you a magazine to look at?
Oh, I would really much rather look at you if you don't mind, Miss Kelly. You really are very lovely.
Oh, well, thank you. Some people don't seem to think so.
Well, some people are blind. That is often brought to my attention. And now, I would like for you to meet a dear friend of mine.
Mr. Dowd.
Elwood P. Let me give you one of my cards. If you should want to call me at this.
Mr. Dowd, I'm Dr. Lyman Sanderson, Dr. Chumley's assistant out here.
Well, good for you. I'm happy to know you. How are you, Doctor?
That's going to depend on you, I'm afraid. Won't you have a seat? You've met Miss Kelly, Mr. Dowd.
I've had that pleasure, and I'd like both of you to meet a very dear friend of mine.
Well, later on I'll be glad to. But first, have a seat. Because first I'd like to say...
After Miss Kelly.
Sit down, Kelly. Is that chair quite comfortable, Mr. Dowd?
Well, yes, thank you. Would you care to try it?
No, thanks. Is it too warm in here for you, Mr. Dowd? Would you like me to open the door?
Mr. Dowd, Dr. Sanderson wants to know if you would like him to open the door.
Well, that's entirely up to him. I would not presume to live his life for him.
Now then, Mr. Dowd, I can see you're not the type of person to be drawn in by any high-flown phrases or beating around the bush.
Oh, is that so, Doctor?
Well, you have us at a disadvantage here. You know it, and we know it. Let's lay the cards on the table.
Well, that certainly appeals to me, Doctor.
Best way in the long run. Well, people are people, no matter where you go.
That is very often the case.
And, being human, we're therefore liable to make mistakes. Miss Kelly and I have made a mistake here this afternoon, and we'd like to explain it to you.
It wasn't Dr. Sanderson's fault, Mr. Dowd. It was mine.
A human failing, as I've said.
Well, I find this very interesting, nevertheless. You and Miss Kelly here? This afternoon, you say?
We do hope you'll understand, Mr. Dowd.
Oh, yes, yes. These things are often the basis of a long and warm friendship.
And the responsibility is, of course, not hers, but mine.
Well, your attitude may be old-fashioned, Doctor, but I like it.
Now, if I'd seen your sister first, well, this would be an entirely different story.
Well, now, there you surprise me. I think the world and all of Vida, but I had assumed she had seen her day.
You mustn't attach any blame to yourself. She's a very sick woman. She came in here insisting you were in need of treatment, and that's perfectly ridiculous.
Vida shouldn't get upset about me. I get along fine.
Exactly. But she'd already spoken with Miss Kelly, and there'd been a call from your family lawyer, Judge Gaffney.
Ah, yes, I know him. Know his wife, too. Nice people.
Well, your sister was extremely nervous, and she plunged right away into a heated tirade on your drinking.
That was Vida.
She became hysterical.
Well, Vida doesn't... I tell Vida not to worry about that. I'll take care of that.
Exactly. Well, I suppose you have a drink every now and then, just the same as the rest of us.
Well, yes, I do. As a matter of fact, I would like one right now.
Matter of fact, so would I. But your sister's reaction to the whole matter of drinking was entirely too intense. Well, does your sister drink, Mr. Dowd?
Oh, no, Doctor.